Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Hey there. Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. I'm your host, Tara Newman, and today I am here with somebody on my team, Stacey Harris, and we are going to be having a really critical conversation around the role technology plays in your business, where to start with technology, how to evolve your tools, our favorite tech, and really why it matters to be having this conversation. We're going to be letting you into the behind the scenes on how we manage our tech stack. And we're here to share all the insights that we've gained. Stacey and I just actually got back Stacey is in California. I just got back from California, where Stacey and I did a week of strategic planning. And one of the first thing we did actually, Stacey, was go through the tech stack. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm excited. You're exactly right. One of the first things we did was that. And I think doing that really set up the rest of the week for a lot of success.
Yeah.
'Cause we got some early clarity wins.
Yes. So I've always been a big stickler for lean business. And I want to caveat that and say lean, not anemic, because what I see a lot of women doing is starving their businesses of the investments that they need to grow, or they're just indiscriminately spending on things that don't really have a return. Most of the people who are probably listening to this podcast just because there's actual data on this that says 65% of women, Fidelity did a study, about 65% of women these are my words, not their words, money hoarders. You're holding on to your money. You are so much more comfortable starving your business, dieting it down, not spending on the things that could lead to growth, that you're handicapping yourself. And then we have probably a small percentage of people who are maybe we'll call it, say, 20% of people. Again, this isn't an actual statistic, who are probably just indiscriminately spending on things because they don't know. They're trying things, they're testing things, and they don't have a good process for evaluating whether or not something works. And then they forget about it until they go through my how to plug your money leaks exercise and realize that they're way overspending on tech. Fair?
I think that's super common. I think it's really easy to get stuck in, ooh, this shiny new tech will solve our problems. And I think it's also really easy to get stuck in I can't spend anything else. And so we've got to hoard this in case, the worst happens. It's really easy to get stuck in both extremes.
Yeah. So I'm curious from your perspective, Stacey, what does the role of technology play in our businesses?
I think for me, the role of tech is always about how can I make this process or system I've already built or that I need to create run as simply and as efficiently as possible. And sometimes that means no tech or light tech. And sometimes that means, oh, thank goodness this tech is here to do this for me. Or to not even do it, but hold on to it, to manage it, to keep it someplace for me. I think that's a lot of what we use, what I would consider the cornerstone of our Tech Monday, as is a place just to hold things a little bit for us.
Yeah. So, there's this acronym called DADD, D-A-D-D, delete, automate, delegate, do. And before you go and spend any money on tech, before you hire anybody and you're assessing the tasks that need to get done in your business, you need to delete. You need to say, this isn't worth it. This isn't getting a result. We don't really need to do this. Someone said we needed to do it, so I thought we needed to do it, but then I started doing it and realized, no, we don't. Whatever that looks like to you. And I'm asking myself this question on a weekly basis. And this goes back way to my corporate days when every week I would start the team meeting with, what can we delete? Right? Because corporate, even human resources, which is the department that I worked in, was just notorious for bureaucracy and red tape and putting things in the way of getting things done. So I'm a big deleter. So what can we delete? But then the second part of that is automate. And before you delegate and before you do anything, what can you be automating? And that's really, for me, aside from what Stacey said, the role of technology in my business is, how can we automate this? How can we make this even easier to get done, especially micro businesses like ours, where you don't have the financial bandwidth for team all the time, right? And it might be easier or less expensive to do it with a piece of technology. And we're starting to see a lot of AI come on the scene. ChatGPT has been all over the place these last few months. And I know that there are a lot of women, specifically women, who say, oh, I'm tech phobic. Stacey, have you heard people say that?
Oh yeah. It's interesting. I would say probably 30-40% of the conversations I have with people inside of my business, that's where they open to. That's where they start with. Like, I'm really freaked out by the tech. How do I get that done? And it's a scary and I would say dangerous place to be at this point. I think you've got to figure out a baseline of comfort. Otherwise, you're gonna spend a lot of time uncomfortable that you don't need to be.
Right. That's where I really wanted to go with this conversation, because even I have at times have said that. And I want to just kind of, from my own experience, Stacey's incredibly tech savvy. I started my role in my career in human resources, managing the human resource information system, the HRIS. And I was an analyst.
Huge amounts of tech.
Huge amount of tech. It's got to talk to so many different components. And this is back in like the early 2000s, right? Like this isn't recent. I've been out of corporate now for 8 years. I've been out of that environment. So this was, even a significant time ago. And I was an analyst. And it was at a time when I was first coming out of grad school and getting a job. It was 2000. So it was 2001. So it was right after 9/11. And we had like a massive hiring slowdown at that time. Companies were in a real standstill. And the only way that I was able to get a job was I went and I saw that the jobs that everybody was hiring for were analyst roles or systems roles. And I was like, okay, well, I guess I need to retrain myself from my background in learning and development to at least be able to pretend and get like a basic level job as an analyst or a tech. And so that's how I really started. And it's funny because my husband taught me one Excel formula. He taught me two. He taught me a VLOOKUP and a pivot table.
And you use them every day.
And I literally made my career on those two formulas in Excel. Like I was sought after because I could do a VLOOKUP.
This is one of the things that I think is really important for people who are tech phobic. I'm not actually that tech savvy. Here's the big spoiler. I'm not that tech savvy. I am just comfortable not knowing. I know enough to know I can figure it out. You don't actually need to know everything. You made a career out of knowing exactly what you need to know. Not more, not less. I don't know everything about tech. I know enough to know how to solve a problem if I get into it, which quite frankly is usually freaking Google or their support channels. It's not wildly complicated there, right? You just got to know enough to know that you know enough.
Yeah.
You don't have to know it all.
Yeah. And so then my journey was like, I started my own business. And yeah, a lot of the tech here that we use is not tech that I used in the job where I did work on technology pieces, and it did feel foreign and it did feel overwhelming and it did rock my confidence. And so I was hiring people to take some of that off my plate. And then I started to realize just how expensive that was and
Yeah.
how risky it was to have to be relying on contractors in the event that it's still my business. I'm still responsible. Like there still needs to be redundancies here if a contractor for whatever reason leaves the team. We've had that.
Mhm.
If they're not a good fit, just like in a company, but like you just have less people to fall back on. And at the end of the day, you're the one holding the bag. And for me, I also got really frustrated, not because anybody was doing anything to frustrate me, but because I move at my own pace. And a lot of times, despite how frustrating this is for my team, I'm a process driven thinker. So sometimes I need to actually be implementing and doing the process to think through it before I hand it off to somebody. And in order for me to fully think things through, I needed to have some level of understanding of the tech that we were using. So, this was really me saying, confirming what Stacey says. I believe that if you're going to have this perspective of a tech, I'm tech afraid of tech, I'm tech phobic, that's a huge risk in your business. Technology is not going away. We are now about to see this like another iteration of technology that we haven't seen before. And it's not just in our businesses, it is in every business. It is humanity.
It's not just in the way you operate to sell things. It's in the way you operate to buy things, the way you engage in programs, the way you buy your groceries. Like all of that is evolving and it's not going to slow down. It's not going to stop.
And I understand that some of the AI that people that are coming out, you could really kind of get a little scared. Like when you play this out and you think about some of those movies we used to watch when we were
Yeah.
kids,
Yeah.
it can start to be a little Armageddon. But why not choose to look at it as positive and helpful in a way to make your job easier and to make running a business easier through automation?
Well, I think that's an important perspective is like, where can you partner with the automation? Where can you partner with the tech? Not hand it all over and be subject to it, but use it to support you.
Listen, you own the business. You're responsible. Buck stops with you. There is no abdicating anything in the business. You can't abdicate your money. You can't abdicate sales. You can't abdicate tech, period. It's too risky. How do you know if the person who's working on your tech is actually doing what they're supposed to do if you don't understand it? It's a recipe for getting taken advantage of. So 3 years ago, I just committed. I was at a point in my business, I don't know, like 5 years into my business, and I just committed that I was going to learn every piece of tech that we use and have the highest level of competency that I could have in it as possible. And Stacey was going to just be my checkpoint. And that's really why I want to have this conversation. One, to say, hey, listen, I don't think we have an option anymore. I think we need to learn this. I understand how challenging that could be. Stacey just said, like, she doesn't always know what to do. She's just willing to figure it out, and she's willing to
Mm-hmm.
take the risk to figure it out. Right. So
I
this
think
is
that's the
really,
biggest piece is being
yeah.
willing to be uncomfortable with it for a little bit while you figure it out.
Yeah. And listen, it takes time, but here's the thing. Time is money.
Mm-hmm.
You're either going to pay with your time or you're going to pay with your dollars. And if you want your dollars to go further, which is, I think, where most of you are, you need your dollars to stretch a little further. How can you do that? Well, one of the ways is to really get your tech stack handled, to identify what it is you actually need tech for in your business, what's the purpose that it's going to hold in your business, and then how can you learn as much as you can about the tech you are going to use? So when you do outsource it, there's redundancy in place and you know how to manage the person who you've outsourced to. What would you add, Stacey?
I would say that it adds a layer of trust to when you make that hire because you know that they're going to be operating in a way you set up. I think oftentimes when we hand that over, it gets built out in a way that doesn't actually work with our brand. Like I see this a lot when we start talking about like specific tools. Like if you handing over your project management system, or if you hand over setting up your like a piece of your website and you have no idea how to go in and make changes, it's going to be hard for you to trust yourself in any other piece. So building the self-trust of knowing the basics so that you can competently hire and then pass that trust on along to who you're hiring. There's such a big component around trust here that has to start with you trusting yourself enough to let go of some of the tech phobia.
Yeah. So here's what I want to do next, Stace. We have our tech stack. I have the tech stack in front of us. We break everything down in the tech stack by either sales and marketing, program delivery, general business operations, accounting, and payment. And what we have in this tech stack is who's the point person for the technology, the priority level that it serves in our business, the payment plan that we're on. Is it annual? Is it lifetime? Is it monthly? Is it free? We have when it renews because that alerts us to have a conversation about whether or not we're going to keep this piece of technology in the future. And then we have a status that goes along with it that is either keep it, question it, or ditch it. I'm really proud of this board.
And I like this here because what I want to address up front, because I agree, I love it, is this answers a lot of the questions that anybody on your team is going to have. And that anybody on your team includes you, right? Like this is a place as much for everybody on the team as it is for you and I who set it up, because we can really quickly go in, oh, this is being glitchy or this is being weird. Who on the team usually touches this? Who on the team is usually trained in this? And you're exactly right to the point of, our tech stack not getting unwieldy and overspending. We have those checkpoints of, hey, this is renewing. Are we still using it? Because how many of us have signed up for something annually or even monthly that's $2 or $3, and like a year and a half later, we realize we have paid for it over and over again and have maybe never opened it? I will raise my hand.
Yeah. So what I would love for us to do is just actually go through the tech stack so they can hear the tech we're using and where we think this falls in terms of like stage of business. So if we have things on here that we think you should have right out of the gates as a startup, we'll let you know. And then we'll let you know maybe what this looked like for us as we were evolving in our business and maybe where you would want to be if you were in growth or stabilize or scale. How does that sound, Stace?
That's good, but I want to make sure we start with the general business stuff because I think that's a good foundational baseline kind of stuff. And I think it's got the most pieces, in my opinion, that might evolve. Like the specific tool might change as you grow. Because I think there's some general business stuff. Like, let's start with Monday. Because that's
you just want to talk about Monday.
A little, but I love it. Okay. But it really is kind of in the sense that it's literally where our tech stack lives. It's kind of in the cornerstone of our tech. Like,
so Monday
this is living in a workspace that's called BLR Main Hub.
So Monday is our project management tool.
Because Stacey loves it.
Because Stacey and Tara love it.
Yes.
We have absolutely gone from Asana. I think we were using Asana right before this. Mm-hmm. Monday's a fairly new tool. I think, we bought it 2 or 3 years ago, and I think it had just pretty much hit the scene.
It had just started really getting big. We hit it right as it sort of got mainstreamy. I've been on it, I think, 3 or 4 years, and you've been on it 2 or 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Monday is our project management tool, but it's really our virtual office.
Yep. That's exactly how I would language it, which is different than something that might be in a business where there is actually a central office, because this really is, this is the bullpen for us.
Yeah.
This is where everybody is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and what we love about Monday is it's a central place where we can communicate in context to a project, in context to a task, in context to our tech stack, in context to our legal documents or our SOPs or our strategic goals. That's all in here. And we're communicating on these items in context.
And it's also the place where, and this is something we talk about in TBPA Plus so much, this is where our processes become SOPs, or our projects rather become processes, become SOPs. We start a board and we are building out a project, and then we're able to transition that into a process and actually save it here so that next time we need to go do that thing, like a price increase or an email campaign or a series of podcast episodes, or even, launching a new opt-in, whatever the thing might be, we can go back and just repeat what we did before. We already know all the things we need to have in place because that process already exists in here.
Yeah. And so this is marked as critical. It's on an annual payment plan, and we pay right now $1,908 for it. And we definitely have it marked as keep it.
Absolutely. And I will say that Monday doesn't have to be the thing you do this with first. Monday is a larger investment than most project management tools, like an Asana, for example. With that said, man, do I wish I had started in Monday earlier, because it was the first project management system that I liked. And I have used lots of them.
I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm obsessed with Monday. I hate every other project management tool that ever existed. And this one has been by far the best. And I think that they have different plans. I think we're on a higher.
We're on a higher plan, partially. And I think this is something worth considering. And I'm gonna sort of pull my agency stuff in for a second, because that might be beneficial for some of the people who are service providers that listen to the show. I know we have a lot of those. For us, it became really critical to have this slightly higher tiered plan because we have guests in, and this is something we do inside of BLR too, because TBPA Plus, we have guests come in. Those are clients. They are able to interact with the boards, engage with the boards. We deliver them kind of as their dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have a premium plan so that we have that guest access and we can allow clients into the space, which is a huge communications lift that then gets, moved into one central location. They know where to talk to us and we know where to go in to see what they need. But also it allows us to sort of deliver. It becomes part of our delivery in addition to being a part of our sort of back end running. And I think that for us is what sort of makes it necessary and beneficial to go into that slightly higher tier. I think it's called Pro now, but that entry level tier will give you a lot. It will give you access to many of the same things. It's just, if you're in a place right now where you don't really need to be bringing in like guests, or you don't really have a super large team, you don't need a lot of seats in there, you could absolutely get started on a lower level than we use.
Yeah. And I will also say that having Monday actually allowed us to eliminate a lot of our other technology.
Mm-hmm.
And so it saved us a ton of money, because the next one on our tech board is Slack. And we actually went down to the free version of Slack. We used to pay for it, but we went down to the free version, which saved us about $600 a year, $680 a year, because of Monday, because we moved our communication over there. So, if Monday's costing us $1,900 a year, but we saved $600 just from Slack alone, it's really it's starting to pay for itself.
We also removed our survey tool that for the life of me is Typeform.
Typeform. Yep.
Which was another not insignificant savings.
Yep. That was another $250 a year as well.
100%. So we're quickly at half the cost of what we spend annually on Monday in just systems that we've removed. And by the way, it improved the quality of the communications versus when we were having them in Slack. A lot of the things we were doing with premium Slack, we do more effectively with Monday. But that's also because we built a system and a process that allowed us to make the most of the tool.
Yep. So we have Slack. We use it for free. I would use Slack for free. I don't see a value. I haven't missed having a non-paid version.
I've only ever used the free version, and we've been using Monday and Slack alongside ourselves in my agency for how many years now? 4 or 5?
Yep. We have Zoom, which, it's funny because it's marked as keep it, but like, I don't know. I feel like this is like a stupid like online business tax, and I'm just maybe Zoom fatigued. It's really not that much money, $149 for the year, but it's starting to irritate me.
That's because Zoom does irritating things. Here's another really good insight around your tech stack. Sometimes you don't like it, and that's part of what's good in having this and having these points where we go in and review it is like, cool. Now I'm thinking, is there a way we get rid of Zoom?
Okay,
There's probably not.
We're marking it as question it.
Yeah, there's probably not right now an option
Right.
we're going to jump to immediately, but we know before it renews in April, when that little notification that comes up goes, do we want this?
It's like they're listening to a working meeting between the two of us. Okay.
Yeah.
So the next one is 1Password. And in full transparency, I have not moved us over to 1Password yet from LastPass, but I'm leaving LastPass because of their breach of security that they did not handle well. It's just taking me a little time to carve out the time to move us over to 1Password. I should probably just give that to Kendra.
I was just about to say, I'm like, can we like here in the spirit of listening to us?
Okay, you know what?
Could we just get this somewhere?
Stacey, I'm giving it to you. You're handling it.
Thank you. I'm like,
however you handle it, I don't care.
problem.
Just handle it. Okay. Oh my God, they really are getting like such a behind the scenes.
This is basically what happens when Tara and I have a meeting.
Yeah. So then we have SiteGround, which is, what is that? The host?
That's the website host. Yeah. So
the website
critical.
Host. Yeah,
But
it's critical. Obviously.
But I'm also a big believer in, like, I've worked in the course of the 12 years I've been in business. I've had 4 different website hosts, because especially the smaller guys that are really inexpensive and look really attractive when you first starting, they keep getting bought out by bigger and get bigger conglomerates. And you have to be paying attention to, are there security concerns with this host and things like that. Like, that's why I never do more than 2 years with a contract. I'll prepay 2 years at a time, but I'm not paying 5 years because things happen. But this is why it's important to have it on your tech stack, because it's one of those expenses that's really easy to just keep recurring and going year after year and end up with a larger problem because you're not doing those check-ins around, like, is this still the right one for us?
Yeah, we've been with SiteGround since 2018, and they're about.
I don't see us changing.
No, I like it. I like them. They're about $479 for the 2 years. Then we have HelloSign, which is basically how people sign our contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I feel like this is one of those stupid taxes you pay, but it is what it is. And then we use Otter, and I don't know. Why are we even using this? I mean, I get that we're using it to, take transcription, but I just don't know if we use it like the way, I'm not sure if we're getting the most out of it, is what I'm basically saying. So I guess we should put it as question it.
Yeah. I will say I just ditched Otter because when I want a transcript of the meeting, I just submit. I'll use like a transcription puppy or something like that to just throw my recording in there and get a transcript, because I don't need everyone transcribed. I don't have, I don't need it. So I will say I have recently ditched it, but I do think that there are a lot. I think if you're somebody who's doing one-on-one coaching and you're early in your business, something like this or some way of getting transcripts can be really beneficial, because it can be a really good way for you to be going through what you were just saying in a call or what you're saying over and over in calls and start to identify some themes.
Yeah.
But Otter is not the only way to do that. But I do think having transcripts of client conversations can be really beneficial early in your business when you are still learning a ton about your messaging and your sort of unique selling point and who you work with and those kind of things. I just have to get a little bit on my soapbox for that.
Yeah. So I want to wrap this section up. The general business and operations, that costs us about $3,000 a year. And that's about $250 a month. So I wanted you to hear like what that impact is on my OpEx account. And what's cool is the next one for accounting and payment, we use PayPal, QuickBooks, Stripe. And so PayPal and Stripe are free. There's no cost to that. QuickBooks actually on my accountant's plan, and they charge me as a part of my accounting package because they have so many clients on it. So that's really zero cost that I have going on right there. QuickBooks can be a little expensive. I think it's maybe $70 a month if you're like not going through your accountant. So right there between my accounting and payment plan and my general business operations, we're still at $250 a month in terms of its impact on my OpEx.
I do want to say there is a cost to PayPal and Stripe because you're going to have your processing fees on the back
Yes.
end, but there's not a membership fee. I just want to say it for the sake of clarity.
Yes. You're going to pay a processing fee. It's a price of doing business.
Yep.
But there's no ongoing membership fee. Yeah. And listen, if I'm making the monies, I'm fine with paying the processing fee. So then I
always have to get on my soapbox with that because I see so many new business owners in Instagram comments or in Facebook groups or in LinkedIn groups being like, is there a way to get paid without spend? I'm like, it's part of the cost of all of this is that.
It's okay. So let's go in sales and marketing.
Yes.
So our sales and marketing tech stack include ActiveCampaign.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to read them out first and then we can go through them. ActiveCampaign, Bonjoro, Calendly, Thrivecart, and Libsyn. Now, Libsyn is for the podcast, and that costs me about $20 a month. Thrivecart is one of my favorite pieces of tech because I bought it when they were offering a lifetime. Do they still offer that lifetime?
They do still have that lifetime. It's higher than it was when you and I got it, but they do still have the lifetime, which is 100% worth it.
Yeah. So I think I bought this in 2017.
Yeah. Right before we launched what is now the Bold Profit Academy.
Right. And I paid the one-time annual fee, which I think was ridiculously low. I don't remember what it was, but it was maybe like $1,000.
It was like $297.
Was it really? Wasn't even $1,000?
No, it was sub $500.
Okay. And now that's it. And so Thrivecart is my order form.
Mm-hmm.
And we use that order form daily.
For everything. And certainly like the TBPA and plus sales pages, but also like your one-on-one payments and literally anything that gets sold goes
everything
through
that gets sold goes through Thrivecart. And I'm now paying $0 for it because I outlaid that one-time amount. It's marked as critical, just so you know, right?
It is. It
Calendly,
is a cornerstone.
Yeah. Calendly, I think that's, self-explanatory. That's our calendar booking. It is really important. It's not, I don't mark it as critical because technically you could book things manually, but at $156 for the year, I wouldn't. Right?
No,
that does some heavy lifting on your admin.
I think it's also one of those, and this is going to be an opinion. I want to preface this with that. I think it's one of those pro touches early in your business that's 100% worth it because you, especially before you have support in getting your stuff, the amount of people who tell me they're going to hire somebody to book sales calls and then I ask them if they have a scheduler like Calendly and they're like, no. And I'm like, cool. Here's how you hire a scheduler.
Yeah.
Set up a calendar tool.
Yeah.
It's just one of those easy pro touches.
Yeah. And they have some good automations and integrations in there as well.
Mm-hmm. I think they've got levels too. They've got a free level and paid levels. Don't they?
Maybe.
I think they have like a single use, very basic free level. But once you get into the pro, that's where you can start getting integrations and you can start having it connect. And one of the things we didn't talk about that we have on this board is integrations, where we talk about what does this tool integrate with so that we know when we need to make a change, this is going to impact these other tools as well.
Yeah, there is no one tool that does it all. You will have integrations and your tools will need to talk to each other, period.
Yes.
So just, that's not a thing. We'll just let's go. Then we have Bonjoro, which is a tool that sends video.
I love Bonjoro. It's not critical.
It's not critical. We have it as high priority. We have it as keep. And I use it because we should all be adding video touches to our sales process. And that's what Bonjoro allows me to do. It allows me to add high touch video touch points to my sales process. And, some of the things like we've done with it, we've sent holiday messages to our existing clients. We welcome people into the Bold Profit Academy using a video. We are planning on using Bonjoro more inside the Bold Profit Academy to really, celebrate and encourage people and follow up along the way in their journey in there. I have sent it as people have come on and joined my email list to make connections. I've sent it to people before I've done a webinar to start warming them up to being on the webinar with me. It's definitely an important tool that I use in my business. We actually have a podcast about it with Casey from Bonjoro, so we can probably put that into the...
Yeah, we'll link to the Casey Hill conversation, as well as links to these tools. Obviously, will be in the show notes.
And we use Active Campaign, and I specifically didn't talk about.
I like that this one is last.
So Active Campaign is our CRM. It's how we send our emails. It's one of our primary sales tools. It is our primary sales tool because we do a lot of sales through email. Now, it's marked as critical because we need to have a CRM and we need to have a mechanism for making sales through email. It doesn't necessarily have to be Active Campaign, which is why it is listed as Question It. And they just changed their pricing structure.
Yeah.
That is not favorable to what it used to be.
No.
And it's not even easy to understand. So we're not even going to talk about like what the pricing is.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to understand. But this is just something that we're ongoing evaluating. Right, Stace?
I will say, if in the stage of business conversation, a CRM is something you will need from the beginning. Active Campaign at its current price point is probably not the best option
to start with.
If you currently don't have Active Campaign and you have to sign up for a new account. If you currently have Active Campaign and you're on a legacy account, like maybe you bought it like I did, when the big advantage of Active Campaign was you could do a lot of the things you could do with what was then called Infusionsoft and is now called Keep. You could do an Active Campaign for like 1/10 of the price. They're actually comparably priced now, so that's no longer the case. If you're at the beginning, Active Campaign may not be the choice. But no matter where you are, a CRM is critical.
I'm actually going to say why it is the right choice for somebody in a startup phase.
Okay.
First of all, switching sucks.
It's not fun.
It's not fun. It really sucks. And if you are serious about making sales and you are serious about using a CRM, then Active Campaign still, to me, is one of the better tools because I am in there every day. I'm looking at data. I'm making I'm making sales decisions based on the data in there. And it drives a lot of my activity and actions on a daily basis. And I think these are habits we need to be starting as early as possible in our business. And in that case, you could probably go with a lighter version of Active Campaign. Mm-hmm. I don't think you and I have seen anything that we're wildly impressed with that we're switching to, which is why it's Question It and not Ditch It.
Yeah, that definitely that's a factor. I think it's case by case, but you're exactly right. There's a reason I'm still with Active Campaign, even though I'm 8 shades of annoyed with them right now.
Yeah,
because I don't have a better option.
Yeah, agree. So you see, as you can see, not everything is straightforward. What I will tell you is the sales and marketing portion of our tech stack runs us $1,600 a year, which is about $133 a month. So total now for general business operations, accounting and payment, sales and marketing, we're at $383 a month in terms of our tech. I hope that by sharing the impact it has on the OpEx is helpful. Now we get to program delivery. Now here's what I want to say about this. If you are running a service-based business that does not have a group education component to it, a lot of this stuff is not going to be necessary. So if you're a coach and like you're running a one-on-one coaching business, that is the most profitable business that you can run. You don't need a ton of tech. I will tell you that running a group program where we're serving upwards of 40 women at any time and growing, that comes with a significant cost to it. It comes with a significant responsibility. That's a podcast for another day. And it comes with a significant cost. There is a lot of tech that is behind the scenes providing a quality customer experience for our participants in the Bold Profit Academy. Correct? Wrong?
Yeah, I want to go through the program delivery, and I'll say again, I want to say this, yes, as a part of your team, but also I run a service-based agency outside of this. I don't have a group program. There are two components in this next piece that we're going to talk about, which, by the way, I think are the two lowest price components that I use in my business as well. And they both exist in the sales and marketing part of my tech stack instead of program delivery. But it is trying to decide how hard I want to go on this. It is really frustrating when I see people say, start a group program. It's the most profitable way to run your business. Da, 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 da. It's the most expensive way to run your business. I've run every version of business. It's the most expensive way to run your business.
Yeah, it's expensive.
It's an investment.
And you're going to see that. Let me say it's expensive to do it right. And you're going to see that. Okay.
I will also say that the pieces we have now are not the pieces we've always had. We have grown in how we've evolved the program. So you starting a group program may not look like this, and that's okay.
Correct. And let's talk about that. Mm-hmm. So the main, like the curriculum in the program is housed in Member Vault. Mm-hmm. Which is like a Teachable, or Thinkific, one of those like course.
It's a learning management system.
It's a learning management system. I use Member Vault because I like Erin and Mike Kelly, and I want to support them as business owners. So much so that probably a year and a half ago, they put out a call for a lifetime purchase. They were looking to bring in some cash flow. A lot of times these early, these SaaS startups need to do that if they're not getting funding. And
similar to what we did with Thrivecart.
Exactly what we did with Thrivecart. So Erin and Mike put out a call and said, hey, listen, if you've been using our product and you like it, there's this lifetime buy. And I think it was maybe around $2,000. I can't remember exactly. But I purchased it, so that is paid off. I don't know what their current pricing is as we are speaking. They do have different tiered offers. There's no longer a free option there, I don't think there should be. So that is Member Vault, and that's if you've gone and signed up for our revenue goal calculator, you've gone into our Member Vault, right? Then we have Mighty Networks, and that is really where the community is housed, and this is where conversation is happening. Sometimes I'll do a live video. There is some curriculum pieces in there to help facilitate the program and navigate the program. So there's an introduction to the team. This is where the event calendar is located. And it's a nice portal. It's basically, instead of running a group program on using a Facebook group, which I am against, you are using Mighty Network. You might have seen people running groups in Circle or some of these other type tools. Same thing. We use Mighty Network. I like them. I like Gina, the founder, and what she stands for and what she's building over there. And they do have a curriculum. They do have a learning management piece to Mighty Network. We don't use it. We've chosen to separate that out, for better or worse.
And I think it's important to note that that's a choice you can make we chose it based on how we wanted to deliver what we were delivering, which, by the way, has also evolved over the 5 years that this program has existed, and the structure of that. And so again, what works at the beginning or the startup of your program and your offer might evolve. It might be that everything works really well in Member Vault and Member Vault alone for a while, or Mighty Network and Mighty Network alone, or some other tool and alone, and it can evolve.
I believe that Mighty Network has a free version of the program, and they also have tiers. This runs us about $972 for the year. Then we have Loom, which technically Loom could fall underneath general business operations because we do use it for team communications, but we use it probably the most heavily for recording training content inside of the Bold Profit Academy. I do really like Loom. I like that it puts the captions on. I like that it has transcription built in, so it makes it more of an inclusive tool, makes it easier to make your content inclusive or more inclusive, and that runs us $96 for the year. We use Hello Audio. That's Lindsay and Derek Padilla's company. Stacey, why don't you speak to Hello Audio since you're my audio person?
I love Hello Audio. Hello Audio is the private podcast component, and we have a private audio podcast as part of the Bold Profit Academy. I use it in my business as for my opt-in, the podcast newsroom. And so you can use it that way as well. I have seen people use it really well as a way to deliver an audio challenge, again, right to a podcast feed. I really enjoy Hello Audio. I know there's been a lot of conversations around private podcasts. Is that something you want to do? I can't recommend Hello Audio enough. But again, it's not necessarily something you need day one of delivering your program. I will say that the two things that I mentioned that I use not running a group program is Loom and Hello Audio. These, in my opinion, are the things we're going to talk about here that could go into a sales and marketing or general business operations category. We use them primarily for program delivery. So that's where they exist in our tech stack here. But in my tech stack and in my business, Loom lives under general business operations and Hello Audio lives under sales and marketing.
Yeah. And I pay $240 for the year. I think I have like a lifetime coupon.
Do you really?
On that. There's some, like, I bought it and there was a coupon to it. There was like a discount that was happening.
So Hello Audio, in the same way that we got on board with Member Vault or we got on board with Thrivecart very early, we got on board with Hello Audio early. So we have prices secured for a lifetime that might be lower than what the prices available are now. But man, Lindsay, if you're listening, Derek, if you're listening, throw us a one-time pay for lifetime and I will be all over it.
Yeah, right. That would be awesome.
Like, if you just want to, like, hey, you don't get anything you don't ask for, right? Fastest way to manifest something, Lindsay.
Yeah.
This is
100%.
us manifesting that.
I have Ecamm Pro here. This is, it's a video software that allows you to do some cool things when you're presenting video. It should technically be Question It because I don't use it a ton, but it's also only $96 for the year. So I think I'm going to keep it just because it feels really inexpensive right now in comparison probably to other things. And its priority is low. So like Mighty Network is high, Loom is critical, Member Vault is critical, Hello Audio is, we have it here as high, but like
I agree with high. It's not, I think for us it's probably critical, but it took a while for us to get to a point where it was critical. And I will say I think it's critical because we think we pay a lot of attention to learning styles, and we want to provide content that speaks to different learning styles. And having an audio podcast component to that is something that is in alignment to our values. So it might not be critical in everybody's business, but for us, I think it is. And I think for Ecamm, there's a lot of people who Ecamm would be critical at some stage in their business. It's not a startup. Honestly, I'm not even sure that if you're early in growth. If you're later in growth, I think Ecamm can be great. Yeah. I ran a membership for years and I loved it because I did a ton of live streaming into groups. I did a ton of live streaming to different tools, and I could broadcast to lots of places from Ecamm. I could do all sorts of things that separated me from other live streams that were happening. I could add some pro touches like lower thirds and transitions and putting me and my screen on screen at the same time. And so there's a lot that's really cool there, but Ecamm is by no means critical. But it's a really good bang for the buck. It's a really good way to feel like you're further along in growth or present like maybe you're a little further along in growth, but the investment doesn't necessarily require you be super far along.
Yeah. And you know what? You actually bring up a really good point in the sense that, so first with Hello Audio, I think we could be utilizing it more. So that's, I think, something that we'll probably want to put on to evaluate in May when we get together and have another strategic planning meeting.
It's already on the list.
Okay, awesome.
I have ideas. There's fun Hello Audio stuff coming from us at the end of the year because I have ideas and I'm excited.
Okay, cool. You handle that. Ecamm Pro, I think you're making a good point in the sense that it's underutilized in our business because I haven't had the bandwidth to get in there and really, understand how to use it on a more regular and consistent basis. Mm-hmm. And I see the value in it putting polish on your presentation. So I'm going to keep it and I'm just going to mark it as something that I want to learn how to use better in the business.
And that's a really good example of why we revisit these regularly. Are there things that don't need to go, but that I do want to put some time on my calendar to learn more or dig deeper or see how we can use this more effectively? We talked about that. You saw an example of that when we were talking about Hello Audio, and this is the same with Ecamm.
All right. Now we have two new, these last two are new ads. They are managed by Jo Gifford, who is on our team. She's responsible for customer experience and curriculum. And one is Alivio, and that is a knowledge-based tool. So what that does is it, the women inside the Bold Profit Academy, if they're looking for something, if they're looking for a tool, a resource, a calculator, a training, they're going to be able to go in and type into Alivio and search our content for the tools that they need. So what this is essentially going to do is reduce friction for getting the information into the hands of our participants in a more efficient way. And it's going to reduce the time and administrative burden on the team providing customer service. Because what I truly believe is that when you create things from the perspective of a customer experience that is proactive, that reduces friction in the business and it reduces the need for customer support, which is reactive. Someone's contacting you and now you're responding. We want to bring our customer experience to a place where we are proactively considering what our clients and customers' needs are, planning for them to reduce the friction of needing customer support. What would you add about Alivio right now? We're just getting this off the ground. This is very much in phase one. It's not even rolled out in the Bold Profit Academy yet. Jo's really working on it behind the scenes.
The other thing I think Alivio is going to be really beneficial for is twofold. One, it'll allow us to provide resources for some of those frequently asked questions. Anybody who does any amount of consulting or coaching or teaching understands that when you've done a good job on the marketing side of things and you have a really good understanding of who your ideal clients are, and then you consistently do a good job in your sales portion of that, converting those ideal clients, you're going to get people with a lot of the same questions into that program because you've done a good job up until now. And so it allows us to provide a space for those frequently asked questions where they can go in and get resources we've already provided for those without us having to go in and for the 847th time answer the same question at maybe varying degrees of completeness or quality based on our capacity in that moment. We can make sure they can go get the high quality version of that answer without having to disrupt their momentum.
Yeah, we really want to foster independent learning inside the Bold Profit Academy. While there are absolutely calls that are live, and I think they're a huge benefit to be able to come to a call and be coached on a call, that's not everybody's learning style. Somebody much rather be dipping into the content and implementing on their own and sure, asking questions, but without coming and showing up on a call. And so we want to really respect everybody's learning style and make everybody feel comfortable coming into the program and participating in a way that feels good to them and gets them the best result. And we think that Alivio is really going to help us be able to do that. I will say, I don't think many group programs have this type of technology in it. So if you're like, where does this fit? And it's not cheap. It's costing us $2,100 for the year. It's pretty much our biggest, single expense.
Mm-hmm.
It's more expensive than Monday, but it's an investment in that program that I think is important for us to make. And so, this is a pretty advanced tool is what I'm saying. You're not going to have this at startup. You absolutely do not need this. We're well into the foundations of this program. And the last one is actually called 7 Taps. And it is a micro learning tool that Joe is using to synthesize some of our live trainings and workshops into micro bites of training. It's allowing us to chunk things down, do some quizzes inside of it. Honestly, it's also not cheap. So Joe's really going to have to prove to me with feedback from the community that this is something she wants to keep in our tech stack. And we're at the point now where other people are making decisions in the business. And I just want to touch on this briefly before we wrap this episode up, that, this tech stack started as like a way to get some line of sight. It was always important because it makes it easier for me to go through and plug our money leaks. But what we're doing now is turning it more into a process, in the sense that if you want to add technology to the tech stack, you need to complete a form inside Monday, and you need to have Stacey and I review it and approve it to add it to our tech stack. Otherwise, people can start adding tech on the business and it will become unmanageable. One, from just having way too much stuff. Maybe there's redundancies. You never want redundancies, and so on and so forth. But we also want to be open to trying new things. So when Joe came forward and was like, hey, I've been using this 7 Taps. I used the trial version and now I need to pay for it. I said, that's great. You can do that, but you need to give me your plan for how you're going to evaluate this piece of technology in 90 days and show me that it's worth the expense on the business. The reason why I keep such a tight handle on my tech stack is because I actually want to pay people. I want to pay my team. And so I don't want to have tech bloat that I'm not using when I can be using that money to pay more hours for people on my team. I want to say the program delivery tech, that sums up to $3,849 for the year, or $320 a month. So the total impact of all of our tech on the business is $8,445 for the year, or $703 a month.
And you can see how much of that is program delivery.
Yeah. Right. So out of the $8,445, almost $4,000 of that is in program delivery. So Stacey, what are we summing up? What are we leaving them with here?
Well, I want you to see how easy it was for us to tell you all of that, because we literally just opened up a board we have in Monday and we're able to list all of that for you. So do you right now have that kind of line of sight over the technology that I know you currently have in your business? Because if you don't, that's got to be your first action after this episode, is put together this line of sight for you. That way, as you're going through your revenue goal calculator, as you're going through the money leaks episodes we've done, you have all of these pieces. You know what these things cost. This is part of that knowing your numbers kind of conversation that we hear so often, right? We hear that phrase all the time. This is part of knowing that numbers, but it's also part of knowing the jobs to be done. We know what each of the jobs of these tools are, and we have it right here for us to look at when we need to make those decisions about whether they're stays or goes. And I think that line of sight is going to give such capacity that you're able to make some better decisions around your investments in support in something like a Bold Profit Academy and building better systems and those kind of things, but also in your, do I have the capacity to hire somebody? Do I have the capacity? Do I need to hire somebody? Or is this a job a tool can do so that when I hire a human, they can do something much cooler than this?
Yeah. I also, if you need a place to start, go download, we'll put it in the show notes, the How to Plug Your Money Leaks workbook. That will help you kind of start compiling this if you haven't done it before. It's a really useful tool that we give away for free. I get a tremendous amount of people emailing me with changes that they're making, decisions that they've made because of that resource that has helped them move the business forward. A lot of times we have women.
Haven't we had people go through the Money Leaks episode to find their payment for the Bold Profit Academy?
Yes.
Yes, it can be a great way to build capacity into, hey, this is a thing I want to do. Here's the money for it.
Yes, you can use that and get some funds together to join us in the Bold Profit Academy, where we just go into this stuff on a much deeper level and help you run a smart business that is easy on your energy, that is profitable, and that makes a positive contribution to your wealth. So I think we can wrap it here. This was a long one. But it kind of doubled as like a meeting. I'm really curious to know if the people listening to this episode enjoyed going this far behind the scenes. I didn't realize we were going to actually wind up with some debate and actions and takeaways on our end. So I'm really curious.
I think it's a good, we talk so much about what does good look like. This is what good looks like when it comes to evaluating and looking at your tech systems.
And I think it's really fitting with the direction that we're going this year, with like really a lot of transparency on the podcast around what it looks like to run a business and to make these decisions. So if you liked this episode, if you would even want to hear maybe us do this again with a different portion of the business where Stacey and I come on and we have a strategic meeting kind of with all of you listening, let me know. I'm at the Tara Newman on Instagram, and you can DM me over there with your thoughts and share your insights and takeaways. You can leave me a voice note. You can find me on LinkedIn. That's another place I'm hanging out a little more, or you can always respond to the email and email me directly. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.